The one thing that annoys me the most when I hear people say this is our attention span is like goldfish. It's only 8 seconds. That's not true. And we spend far more time than 8 seconds, sometimes 8 hours, on stuff that is important to us. The question is not if you can focus on something for more than 8 seconds. The question is it worth your time? Why am I talking about this when we talk about planning? Because you want to spend the next 160 hours or so, the next 7 days, and you want to plan for that, and that certainly deserves more than 8 seconds of thinking time. Scheduling, planning your week is not about packing every minute. It's not about having something to do for each hour of the day. It's not about having a calendar that looks completely busy. It's about knowing what is the most important to you and making sure that you put a tick on them first. Because it is about you. It is never about the process. It's never about the tools. It's never about the methods. It's never about the notebooks. It's never about the post-its. It's never about the sticky notes. It's about you. My name is Ilam. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Planning. It's not about scheduling. It's not about packing your calendar with list of to-do things. It's about packing it with the right things just for the right amount of time that you know you can do. And planning is about two things. One, self-awareness. How much do you know yourself? And two, prioritization. It's not about the calendars. It's not about using a tool. It's about you, and it's about knowing what's important to you. I hear what you think. You thought you were going to watch a video with, funny little post-it notes, funny little green and yellow and blue stickers, and with this fancy notebooks. Nope, that's for the more advanced planners. And if you're someone like me who's struggling to focus on the basic things and just stick to a basic plan, that's what this video is for. If you are a pro and if you already plan with the notebook with multiple colors, this video may not be the best help for you. So I talked about two things. Self-awareness. I assume you've tried goal setting. Most people, or 35% of the US adults, go for a New Year resolution, but only 9% of those who actually set out these resolutions actually carry on longer than 2 weeks. That means only roughly 3-4% of the population are actually good at setting goals and sticking through with them. And how is that tied to self-awareness? It very closely. If you've tried goal setting multiple times in the past, if you've tried planning multiple times in the past, I would guess that you didn't succeed a lot, or you didn't succeed as much as you thought. Otherwise, you wouldn't be landing on this video. Why is it important? Because it is about you. It is never about the process. It's never about the tools. It's never about the methods. It's never about the notebooks. It's never about the post-its. It's never about the sticky notes. It's about you. I'll let you ponder there for a while we move on. The next is prioritization. Scheduling, planning your week is not about packing every minute. It's not about having something to do for each hour of the day. It's not about having a calendar that looks completely busy. It's about knowing what is the most important to you and making sure that you put a tick on them first. Remember the 80-20 rule? Most of the value for your time comes from usually 20% of the activities. So it's about knowing which of those 20% activities you want to pack in the week, so you keep getting more out of your week every time. I hope that's kind of setting a tone, and there you see my plan for the week, and that's the approach that I'm going to share with you. It's a very simple approach. It doesn't look to make your calendar busy. It looks to actually free up. Let me share my simple planning approach with you. And if you're struggling with basic discipline of sticking to a plan, maybe this might be helpful for you. So before we plan for the upcoming week, let's take a moment to pause and reflect on the previous week. Did you have a plan for the previous week? Were you good at getting most of it done? What stopped you from getting the most out of the previous week? Did you turn lazy, or was it something else that changed your plans? Reflect on that for a minute, because if your previous week didn't work according to your plan, there's a good chance that this week will also not work, assuming you were the only difference. If there was an external factor that was beyond your control, that's fine. But if it was something that was in your control, remember I talked about self-awareness. That's why I say if it didn't work the last week and it's because of you, it's unlikely to work this week. So Take a moment, step back, think about why it didn't work, and list out the reasons. And be honest with yourself and say, well, I got too lazy last week. Was it because this wasn't important enough for me? Or was it was too easy for me to say, I'll do it next week? Think about why it didn't happen and address that root cause first before you make a new plan. Or if you make a new plan, find a way to make sure that you don't fall into the same trap again. Okay, now let's deep dive into the essentials. When we talk about essentials, I'm referring to those aspects of our lives that is fundamental and very important to us. So it can, of course, vary from person to person, but in my case, I would take 4 key areas that are critical for me: health, relationships, work, and personal growth. These are the 4 areas that I'm going to pack my week with. Everything around it, I can always find a way to fit it, or if I cannot do anything about it, that's fine. I'm happy to move on. So health, you probably listen to this recurring theme in my channel. You are the most important investment that you will ever have. Think about where you started. If you were a career person like me, think about your first paycheck and think about your paycheck 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. The value of, if you were an asset yourself, like a house or gold or a stock, look at how much that stock has risen through the last X number of years that you worked. In my case, probably 2,000 times, I would say. And that's true to many of the professionals I know and many of the other people I know from different walks of life. So there's great asset classes in terms of equities, real estate, etc., but almost none beat the asset class of you. You are the best asset you have, and it's important that you take care of that asset. Imagine you have a house that needs maintaining. Wouldn't you not do it? I mean, it's mandatory, right? I mean, if you have a leaking pipe or AC that's broken or a window that's broken, you fix it, right? I mean, this is what you do. You take care of your assets. It's important for you to realize you are the most important asset you have. I know I keep repeating this point. Hopefully that's enough for you to be convinced. So what do I mean taking care of me as an asset? It's health. And if you look through my week, I'm putting these small circles. So the 9 to 5 is basically blocked out for my work. Somebody else pays for the time. I have to be extremely careful when I use that time. It's for work, but I can of course find small pockets of time where I can take care of myself. So the small pockets that I have there are essentially to see, can I do a 5-minute workout? Can I take a call while I'm on a walk? I mean, I work with MS Teams quite a lot. I work remotely and in the office, and whenever I do go to office, I make it a point to have a slightly longish walk with some of my colleagues rather than having a chat on the coffee corner. I would rather prefer to take a coffee and then actually walk around outside. So I typically get around 3,000 to 5,000 steps if I go to office without anything else. And if I'm home, I'm always trying to find a way to see if I can, let's say, stand a little more, walk a little more, or when it's warm enough outside, I would like to maybe put my headset on and maybe just go on a walk while I'm on a call. So that way I try to get somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 steps at work, regardless of whether I work from home or office. So those are the little circles there. It's still somebody else's time that I'm paid for, but I try to get something out of it. So essentially the little circles during my work window is to see if I can squeeze something out for myself while not compromising on work. I know people who run, who go to the gym, who do other things during that block of work hours. Everybody's life is different, so do what works for you. Relationships, that's the next block for me. And here I've carved out some time through the day on different days, different times. I want to make sure that I go on a walk with my family, and of course then I kill 2 stones in one when I walk and with my family. And usually it's a theme that we try not to use our mobiles or not look at screens when we do that. So in a way we are forced to talk to each other, share opinions. It could be the silliest of things, and we could be talking about stuff that doesn't matter, but in the long run it does matter. We schedule time with friends. There are things that you can do for yourself, your relationships, and you just have to make sure that it's there And if you miss it this week, you know when you review it for the upcoming week, you know that you didn't put a tick there. It doesn't matter if you didn't put tick for a week, but if you see that becoming a pattern, that it tells you something, that it's either not important enough for you, and there's other things that take the time that you should be spending here, or it's also self-reflection saying that maybe it's not as important to you. And either ways, it's fine. You know if you're doing it, and you know if you're not doing it, you have an opportunity to think about why you're not doing it. And specifically, if you see I haven't put anything on, whether it's a walk or if it's a coffee or whatever, because I mean that you can always figure out if it's important enough for you, and you know that on Wednesday in the afternoon you want to do something. It's not so difficult to figure this out. In the worst case, just go out for a walk. It's a time with the person that matters and not necessarily what you do. One tip that I try to implement as much as possible is when I walk or when we go somewhere, I try to explore a new way into the same place. So if it's walking to the next neighborhood, then I try to see if we can take a different route, or if we always take the bus, can we take a train or can we just walk? It's basically giving a small different exercise for your brain, just going through a new route. I'm told there's the dopamine release that comes when you do new things. I'm not sure if I'm qualified enough to comment, but I do like the idea of just going to the same place but in a slightly newer way. The third block is work. You've seen that it's blocked out, and it's a very important part of who you are. For many people, it becomes an identity. I would strongly suggest to rethink if that should be the case for you. But regardless, most of our active awake time goes into work, so we should also make sure that we take care of that block and have a clear line between where it starts and where it ends, so you at least know when you hit the clock there. And for some people it might not be the case. Some people work might kind of extend through the day. Regardless of how it works for you, it's important for you to know where it starts and where it stops. And the last block for me is personal growth. I love to learn, and actually most of us would have loved to learn when we're young people, and something happens as we grow up and we stop learning. But that is something that I'm becoming more and more conscious of, and I'm trying my best to make an effort to learn. So I use book summary apps, I use Audible, I use YouTube a lot, I go on paid courses, and I do my own, let's say, research on things. This way I keep my mind fresh, I keep as educated as possible on a certain topic. And you never know, when you start accumulating knowledge and you keep doing that over a long period of time, you never know what that can lead into. In my case, I started learning SEO, I started learning blogging, I started learning YouTube, and today I have a blog that ranks on the top of Google for, let's say, hundreds of keywords. I've probably got about 4,000 keywords from my blog that ranks in the top 20, I would think. In the long term, I have no idea what that could become. So it does many things. One, it gives me new monetizable skills. I've learned how to write professionally. Sometimes I do freelance writing for other sites. I do writing for my own sites. I do YouTube videos that are beginning to rank on the first page of Google. And I see that I'm kind of becoming a consultant in some of these matters, and actually these are monetizable skills. Average SEO consultant today could get paid anywhere between $100 to $500 an hour, depending on their skill level and their results. And that's what I'm moving to, not necessarily actually wanting to do that. It's good to know that you have skills that are actually valuable to other people. And it's almost impossible to improve in one area of your professional aspects and not have an impact on other areas as well. As you learn, you keep building new connections, and it always impacts almost all areas of your life. So if you are getting better at learning and moving on with things, improving, it lifts you up as a person as a whole. So summarizing, what did we talk about today? Take your week, build blocks of it, and find out what is the most important things that you want to fill it with. Imagine a jar that you have to fill it with. Pick the big items first, put them in, and then you can always fill it with sand and water later. So in my case, I've filled it with health, and you see a lot of sport there because I love sport. I play 2-3 times a week. Different sport, cricket in the summers and then other sports in the winter. So I fill that up. I fill time for some learning, reading, walking, spending time with people that are close to me, and then I try to fit in as much as possible for myself during my work hours without impacting work. So down in the description below, I have a link to my blog where I've added a few templates that you could print and use yourself. And if you stick around on the page long enough, you'll also get an option to sign up on emails. I will also be sharing more tips like these and templates that you could actually use and print and just put it on your wall, just like what I have. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. I love it when I see people commenting, either good or bad, and I always respond to the comments. So feel free to share your thoughts if this is helpful or not. See you in another video. Take care.